Hello and welcome to the May edition of the Beta. I knew I was going to say this wrong when I was practicing it. I said it so many different ways. The B2B comms breakdown. That's what we call it. If you were at UKREiiF this week, which a lot of people were, I hope you had a good show, and I hope you dried out after Wednesday. Wednesday was the only day I was there, so I'm taking full responsibility for the bad weather. It was my only day and it poured down with rain all day. Anyway, I should probably introduce myself. I'm Stacey Meadwell. I'm a former property journalist turned content creator, media trainer, moderator, working with businesses in the built environment sector.
And I'm Ayo and I. I am a marketing consultant who works specifically with built environment firms, mainly, I guess, architects and engineers. And I basically do marketing strategy and planning, content creation, speaking and training as well. So we kind of do same, but different. Slightly different segments of the market. Yeah. But yeah, I was just going to say, just so we know that there are people online, let us know if you went to UKREiiF or BCO National Awards, or if you didn't, what else you got up to this week. If you put those in the comments, we can see it, and it also tells us that you're live as well.
Yes, because unless people are commenting, we have no idea whether anybody's watching, and it's always nice to know that there are people watching live. Anyway, our topic this time around, he said this month, is purposely timed to coincide with the end of UKREiiF. And I think there's been other shows like BCO and other things going on in the built environment sector. And it's about how you can get more value out of the content that you create for the event, for your show. And we are going to talk about reports and white papers and thought leadership that you may have launched at the event. We are going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about panels and roundtables and how you can extend the shelf life of those after the lanyards have gone away.
And yeah, I think that's a really important thing, because so for the next kind of 20 to 30 minutes, we're going to be talking about how you can make the most out of your reports and white papers that you've launched during an event, and also how you can make the most out of the panels and the white round tables. And we'll also be looking at some of the kind of low-hanging fruit, some of the easy wins that you can do, and also talk about some of the fancier things that you might want to kind of do more planning for in future if you haven't done it, because we know not everyone had an audio crew or camera crew on site and we're recording, apart from mainly the organisers. So I think for that, it's just thinking about how you can, when you're planning your next load of major events, how you can do that a bit better. And as always, we would love to hear from you. So if you've got questions, please pop them in the comments and we'll get to those probably towards the end. So we'll definitely do that. Anyway, first question is yours, Stacey.
No, it's actually yours.
Oh, can't read. Damn it. So how do
we talked about this.
I know, but you know, I have no short-term memory. Right. So how do you make the most out of white papers and reports launched during an event, Stacey?
Right. Well, I've got a few low-hanging fruit. Easy things that you can do. If you had an official launch for your report or white paper and had a photographer and speeches, then do a blog post about it. And one of the nice things that you could do, if you do have nice photography, you know, those sort of nice close-up shots of people, you know, talking and doing their introductions, you can splice quotes from the launch event over the pictures, and sort of run it as a carousel or as a slideshow. It's just, there's so many pictures out there of just, you know, straight panels or people standing at microphones, and I think you can just get a little bit more creative and use the photos, because the photographers will generally take a nice range of photos, and it's just a nice way of making the most of those. And people are always interested to see those sorts of things, and you can give a little bit of information away, and it's a nice little teaser for what you launched. Obviously relaunch it after the buzz of the show has died down. If there was a lot of people at the event, you know, a lot of people were at UKREiiF if you launch something, so they may not have been able to make your launch They may not have seen your splash about it. So relaunch it again afterwards, you know, in case you missed it. This is what we were talking about at the show. I'm going to hand back to you, Noah.
Yeah, and I think there's also stuff that you can do around, like, basically just creating a mini campaign around the actual piece of content that you've got, the white paper or the launch. So I always like things like, you know, like taking the headlines for each section, or if you know, for a report, or if it's a white, you know, if it's a white paper, or, you know, you can also kind of sit there and, you know, look at the kind of the key themes that are drawn out, and again do that. And I think if you're going to create a campaign, it could be that you have some social media posts. You also kind of look at, you know, how you tell those stories. You could have, you know, a little clip of somebody talking about the report, or introducing the report as a way to kind of start, and just basically drip feed it over a number of weeks and months, really, just so that you get more bang for it. Because I think we always assume that people have seen something, and I just don't think everyone, I mean, think how many messages we all get every day. I just don't think people have the time, and it takes a long time for a message to actually resonate, or even kind of, you know, get into your mind. So I think if we can kind of find a way to just share it more and more than we actually think, I think that's a good way to kind of get a lot more bang for that buck, as it were. And I was thinking about this afterwards as well, is that email. So if you create an email to share the content, you could do that with everyone who registered or came to your event or session. So I know people's badges were scanned, but also you can segment that list and have a tailored email for those who attended the session. Great to see you. Here's a link to the report that we shared. You know, and then also do an email that is the people who didn't make it. Sorry you couldn't come, but here's the report. If you have got any questions, we'd love to talk to you, kind of thing. And it's that kind of thing. So using the content for that, as well as if you have a wider email list, actually sending that out and go, we launched this here, we thought it would be of interest. So you've got lots of ways you can actually use that content. And I think that's the kind of stuff where people don't think about it. And it's actually, you probably get a lot more people reading it, because if you're at an event, you'll see the report, but will you actually read it? And I think that's the thing, actually, it's worth doing that for that reason. And I think another one that you can do is actually get feedback from people who the content's targeting. So if there were people who you knew in the audience, you could drop them a quick line. No, you were at the event. What did you think of the report? Can we, you know, you could have a quick, you know, audio soundbite, video soundbite, or you could just like write a little comment, you know, a little comment of, we found it really useful because. And that could be another way of having more content.
Yeah, I think capturing the data that you utilizing those kind of, you know, who was there and from the email list is just really important. And actually a lot of what, you know, what you've said, Ayo, and my previous points, it's kind of what you can do for reports generally, even if you're not launching it at a big trade show. If you're, you know, just having your own launch event sort of outside of a trade show, you can do all of this. You can do all of this stuff. I mean, a bit more, one of the things that is a bit more work, and it does require a bit of planning, is to film like little short interviews with the author or authors of your white paper or your research. You know, get them talking about the key points that have come out of that, and you can record it as you know, as audio and as a video, so you can put it out as a podcast for people to listen to if they want, as well as video. And there are easy ways of doing this. You could use a platform like StreamYard, which is what we're using now to broadcast to LinkedIn. You don't have to do live broadcasts via StreamYard, and there are plenty of other platforms that do this as well. I'm just talking about StreamYard because it happens to be the platform that we use. But you can set up, you can record the video sort of similar to this, and from that you can actually download the audio and the video, so you can get two hits for your short, and it doesn't have to be a long interview, and it's very easy to set up using a platform like StreamYard. Anyway, thank you for all your comments, by the way. Hello to Ben. We will come back to questions and stuff towards the end. Hello, Kim, and hello, Amber Jade. It's great to have you all on, and thank you for all all your comments, and particularly about how damp UKREiiF, particularly about how damp it was on the up there. But hey, I think we all sold. I think we all soldiered on.
I was just going to say, I know Ben said he's having issues watching us on LinkedIn, and I was just going to say, if you go to the Built Environment Marketing channel, it's also live there, and that's YouTube is a lot more consistent. LinkedIn can be glitchy, man.
Yes. So catch us on YouTube if you're having problems. And also, if you are having problems, don't worry. There will be replays and write-ups and stuff afterwards, because we like to practice what we preach about these things.
Going back to one thing that you said before we move on, Stace, there's a thing around, like, how long does it take to create a good piece of content? It takes a long time, right? And I think there is this thing is that we don't spend enough time on distribution, and we should all spend far more time sitting there and mapping out how we are going to distribute this content, and what we discussed earlier in terms of like where else we can use it, how can we spread it out for longevity. But there's also things like, in terms of ABM, so account-based management, if you've got key clients that you want to do business with, there's no reason you can also have like a direct mail campaign, like strategy, where one-to-one your senior partners and figures are actually emailing people with the report. Thought this would be of interest to you because, and you start a conversation and you have a meeting and they take people through it. So there's lots of different ways you can use it. And I think it's just sitting down and really mapping out what the possibilities are, and once you've built that framework out, that's something you can use in future as well. So I think that's a really important thing we've heard.
It is really important. And just a very simple thing, the number of LinkedIn posts that you can create around a report or a white paper is outrageous. You can drip feed that content out, re-promote it over a long period of time, depending on the time sensitivity of the report. But if it's something that's got a good 6 months, maybe sometimes even 12 months shelf life, you can drip feed that content over and plan it out, and that's saving you time on actually creating fresh LinkedIn or social media content as well. Shall we move on to panels and round tables?
Yeah, go for it.
How do you make the most of panels and round tables after the event?
So I think, in an ideal world, you will record the panel. I think that you could easily just do it on your mobile phone. Like, let's be honest, you could just record the audio and then get Otter to transcribe it and then start a piece from there, and then use it going forward, and use that transcript to fuel a written blog, to fuel your social media assets, to get quotes. And it could literally, you just use your mobile phone to do that. But if you want to do something more professional and you've got audio person, you've got proper recordings, that's even better. You could release it as a podcast. So I think it's that kind of thing but you just need to be a bit prepared and know that you're going to do that. But I would say the transcript thing, I had a number of events where I've literally just popped my phone in the corner and just recorded it. And then that's just given me, it makes it so much easier to do the write-up. So I think that is the key one for me about those types of round tables and panels.
Can I just add my pro tip? I'm going to add my pro tip for recording. If you are recording for a transcript, make sure that everybody introduces themselves, and that helps when you're tagging in their transcript, because you just tag them once, and then like Otter will go through and recognize the voices of each of the speakers. That's something I always do, particularly if I'm recording a chat with a few people. Sometimes.
Have you found that Otter's summaries and stuff are getting better? Like they were really bad when they first came out. Like some of the transcripts, they're starting to get a bit better. The whole AI thing and stuff, where they kind of pull out quotes. I'm like, oh, these aren't so bad now. So maybe in a few months you'll be able to use them. But yeah, that kind of stuff also helps as well.
Sorry, I interrupted. Yeah.
And I think the other one is audience questions are a great resource to use. So if an audience member is asking a question, that could be a LinkedIn post on its own, but also it could be the start of something else and restart of another piece of content. And I think that kind of stuff also can be used on your website as FAQs. All of that kind of stuff is really, really useful. And if you had a stand at the event, for example, or an event, and the questions that people are asking you, again, that could also be used as FAQs that fuel your website as well. So I think it's just looking at what are people asking us all the time, wherever we are, and using that. But I think the questions from panels are so useful in that you can just literally take that, and that is a social post in itself. So I think the responses are always useful, and they might also spur some more ideas for you about what else you could ask yourself and things like that.
No, that's a really good one. I mean, another really easy thing that you can do is don't forget to do your straightforward LinkedIn or blog post afterwards. You know, this is just a mini event write up. Talk about things like what it was like in the room, how packed it was, you know, whether there were lots of questions. Put some, you know, key points that came out of the discussion, and some thank yous. You know, you've got there's 3 different things you can cover, and you can make a nice, you know, a nice little LinkedIn post and blog post about the event. And then if you are doing more detailed coverage, you can always link to it and say, if you're doing a write-up, you know, this is almost like a little teaser for a longer piece about the sort of, you know, the more in-depth discussion. Another thing that you can do is it depends on if you've got a photographer at your panel or round table, and sometimes this happens, sometimes it doesn't. But if you have got a photographer, again, use the images and use them really, really well. And the same that I was talking about when you're launching, you know, a report or a white paper. If you've got a photographer snapping pictures of people on panels talking, you know, those nice little animated shots, put a quote, you know, use something like Canva and take your pictures and put a quote that person said over the picture, and make a little carousel. Again, it can really bring the event to life after the event, and it's fairly simple to do if you've got someone there taking pictures. I mean, you know, it depends on how good your own photography is, and how close you can get. But, you know, maybe take some pictures yourself on your phone, and if they're a decent quality, you could maybe create something. But if you are using a professional photographer, just make the most of what they are creating for you.
And even just quotes on their own work as well. Sometimes I do carousels which are literally just quotes, or even just a text only post that is literally just got a couple of quotes from people.
Yeah.
And I think so those things are, I mean, they still do well as well. So you don't always, even if you don't have the pictures all the time.
Yeah.
And again, it's that mix, isn't it? So yeah.
And you don't even need a recording for that. If you're just there with a notebook, just jotting down, you know, pertinent points that, you know, people on the panel made during the discussion, you know, those really nice little comments that sort of, you know, that sort of sum things up quite nicely, or maybe sort of, you know, a stop the scroll kind of the fact that I saw a brilliant quote. I won't repeat it because it involved a swear word, but someone used the B swear word that refers to a part of male anatomy in their speech, and that was used as a quote on a post because it was a very pertinent point, but it was said in a really colourful way. And I thought that's actually quite a nice way of doing it, you know, to pick out those.
Did the post, wasn't it?
Yeah, to pull out those nice colourful quotes, or, you know, stuff that actually says something really, you know, really pithy. I think, have you got anything else? I've got a few more points, but
I think the imagery is one. I think the other thing, I mean, you can actually run your event again. So like do it online or do something in person, but because you think, how many people did you have around the table talking about whatever your topic was? There is nothing to stop you doing an online version where you can invite more people, or you could also do it in person again. So I think there is that thing of just you know, you've done all the work. So how else could you do it? And I think you could actually rerun it in the regions, you know, rerun it in different offices and things like that. So that's another thing you may have done. Actually, I was going to say, should we move to this comment from Kim Wow? Because I think it's really interesting, Stacey.
yeah,
And then
yeah. Let me. I can't read that. I've got my screen too small.
Oh, sorry.
Do
you want me to read it?
No, I am really sorry. I'm just a slow reader.
It's basically that Kim joined a Historic England roundtable, and they are going to be doing a write-up, but it was invite only and private. So not sure what else I can do to maximise my reach on the fact I attended and inputted. I think that's going to boil down to if it's Chatham House rules or not, because some are.
Yeah.
And I spoke to a few people, and there were some events which were Chatham House rules. So you do need to be a bit more. Go on.
Yeah, but saying that, I have chaired roundtables that have been Chatham House and done write-ups from them, and we've done the write-up without. Everybody's known that there's going to be a write-up, but we've done the write-up without naming anybody and attributing anything to specific people, and obviously everybody's got to see it before, so they're happy that they're not. So you can still have the free flowing conversation, but you're not, nobody is directly quoted. And I've done that quite a few times. It's also if you've got a big round table and generally you've got quite a few people, trying to get everybody that they're happy, and signed off can be quite challenging. So you can do write-ups without specifically mentioning the people, and just kind of pull out some key themes and key points. So yeah, there are ways of doing it, just as long as the people know, that everybody around the table is happy and know what sort of write-up you are doing.
Maybe contact Historic England and just ask them, because that might be the way if you're not entirely sure, especially about sharing photos of people, because I know there were some private events that were very private, you know what I mean? So maybe just have a quick chat with them and just go, can I just check the lay of the land kind of thing? Because overall summary, like we say, may actually be fine. But you might want to just check on the pictures. I think that's just almost like safeguard yourself.
I think it comes back to, why are you organising this round? If it's an event that you're organising, why are you organising the round table? What do you want to get out of it? What is the output from that? If you've gone to the trouble of organising a round table, what? Okay, so you get a group of people sitting around a table talking about something, but then what do you do with that information? What do you do with that conversation?
But for me, my advice is coming from this perspective that it's not your event. So if you're a guest at
I get that.
Because I think that's
yes. Yeah, and I was coming at it from the point of view, if you are organising an event, if you are organising a round table, then have your plan as to what the output is going to be. What do you actually want to achieve by getting all of those people sat around a table? What is the action after the event has happened? Because it takes a lot of work to get everybody sat around. And what's the point if you get people around, you have a good discussion? It's just like,
on the question, it says they're doing their own write-up here, so I think that's fair enough. But I think it's just, if others can do a summary or what.
Yes,
I would say you have to kind of do that. I don't know. I never like getting in trouble for producing things. That's never a good thing.
No, God, no.
You're like, I get been burned too many times. I'm always like super cautious. I'm like, whoa.
Yes, you do have to be careful. Well, I mean that's kind of most of the points that I wanted to say. Shall we go on to? I know that we had some questions that Ben submitted beforehand.
Now, actually, I can't now access, which is really good.
So that's all right. Well, one of them was, I'm not doing these in the order that Ben wrote them down, but one, I mean, this is just, I scribbled this down, so it's not as Ben eloquently put it, but how can you keep the conversation going after the event?
I think that's what we said earlier around having a schedule for what you want to do. And that could be emailing people. It could be setting up meetings with people to talk them through the paper. It could be all the kind of social media posts, all different types. This happened, key outputs, carousels, tons. And I think that's kind of it, really. It's just keeping it going and the momentum going, but just having a plan for doing it. I'd say map it out every week. This will happen, and where else you're going to take that conversation. But actually, after the event, one of the things I did do once was we launched a report, and then we held an event, and then we did an addendum report, which kind of was like people's responses to the report itself, and then we launched that. So it was a really interesting way to do it, but it worked really well. Because it was like, once you socialize a piece of content, to actually have people reading it and their comments then kind of making it even richer was a lovely thing to do. So you kind of, we did that, which was a slightly strange thing, but it worked really well.
It's a really nice thing to do, and you could do that in the form of a podcast episode, an audio episode. Get 2 or 3 people that have read the report and have a discussion around some of the things that have come out. So yeah, I think it's everything that we've been talking about is just keeping everything going after the event. Don't just see it as a launch or a panel and then you're on to the next thing. Actually, there is a lot of life. And you want to kind of make the most of all the work. There's so much work that goes into all of this stuff. It takes a long time and a lot of organization. So you want to get as many eyeballs on it. You want to promote it as much as possible. So yeah, there are plenty of ways to keep the conversation going. Okay, so let's go into Ben's other questions. How do you measure the success and impact of thought leadership?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I guess there's I'm going to say the superficial or the kind of superfluous, right? The likes, the comments, the this. But when I've been working with more strategic companies, it's been quite interesting because many of them aren't actually reporting to their board on those things. And it's more about share a voice with the audience that you really want, your target customers, those meetings that you want to have, all of that kind of stuff. Has it led to something else? Have we had that meeting? Has it opened the door for us? So, and those are the things that matter more to the business. But I guess your metrics are going to be based on what your goal is for that piece of content as well. But I think actually looking at measurement in a way of how is it driving our business objectives and goals, I think that's the way that you can really capture the attention of your business, of your stakeholders, particularly now, as if depending on the size of organization, I mean, you can kind of track who's coming to your website from a piece of content. You can, like all that kind of stuff. You can look at your emails. So actually building out dashboards that show that kind of granularity that you can then kind of translate into something that matters to your business. For me, I mean, those tools are out there and there's low cost versions, not just a Salesforce type thing that can kind of really help you to do that. And I would say invest time in that because that will just pay dividends as you go on.
And I think it's the same with like LinkedIn. You get a lot of data with a LinkedIn post. You can see, the breakdown of who's been looking at your post. Obviously, if people have reacted or commented, then that is a great indicator. So you can see if it's reaching the right people. You can see the response. But then there's the things, like you look at your experiences at UKREiiF Ayo with people running up to you. I see you as a thought leader, as an influence. People were running up to you because they'd listened to your podcast or they'd watched this live. And I think there's a lot of value. And I think it's actually monitoring those things. I mean, I had people, because I had train issues on my way up, and I posted a picture of me looking miserable on the train, and I had so many people comment about that. And yes, okay, that's not technically thought leader, but it's it's that awareness, it's that visibility, and I think there's a huge value in that. And
dashboards and anecdotal, so it's like absolutely.
And I was talking actually at UKREiiF. I was talking to someone I know who heads up a big big property company, and they are really, really good on LinkedIn, and saying they get so many comments from people saying that they really like their content, but they're also jealous because they're not getting the same sort of response. So don't forget, yes, there are the sort of that there are all sorts of different metrics that you can measure for the success, but it takes time. Thought leadership isn't born out of one piece. It builds over time, which is another reason why to keep churning out. If you've put out you've put out a white paper on something, that's why you should keep re-promoting it, because it keeps that fresh in your mind that you are the expert on that area, on that particular area.
But also, I think as well on the measurement thing, that kind of, having a list of the top 10 clients or top 10 people we want to socialize this piece with. And also that could be a really lovely metric. Did we get those meetings? Did it open that door that we needed? because
Yeah.
even if it doesn't lead to a piece of work, it's like, actually, that's meeting our business goals. And I think as marketeers and comms people, it's quite easy for people to just think, oh, you just do the report and that's it, and it doesn't really matter. And it's like, actually, no, this will help drive what you need to do in the business overall. So I think those types of things just, it gives you that business edge.
And it comes back to your point earlier about emailing like the content around to particular people.
Yeah.
You know, getting in their inbox and, you know, thought you might find this interesting, you know, send it. And, you know, and that goes for event content as well as any kind of like, you know, thought leader or report or white paper. We're at time, but there is one more. We've got the third question from Ben. Should we quickly cover this before we finish? And this is, what are the recommended channels for thought leadership?
I mean, we are obviously LinkedIn groupies, really. Fangirls even. So LinkedIn is one, but I think it's also worth pointing out that LinkedIn now does thought leadership ads, which I think is really powerful, but no one's really using. So it's basically where you can, if you've got someone in a company who does a LinkedIn post that does well, or you want to kind of position as your thought leader, you can put, as a company page, you can put ad money behind their posts, and then you can hyper target it to the companies and the types of people that you want to reach. And you can do that. And for relatively low spend, you can actually get your thought leadership out to those right people. And I think that's a really powerful thing. It's only been in for the past year, but I would say that kind of stuff, and working with a LinkedIn ad specialist, someone who knows what they're doing, to kind of set that up for your firm, that's huge. And I think the results and what you can get from the right types of companies, because you can specify it on LinkedIn, that's powerful.
Definitely. And I mean, a lot of the work that I do is ghostwriting pieces that get pitched to publications. So if you've got, you know, if you choose the publication depending on your target audience. So who are the readers of that publication? Are they your target audience? And get, you know, pitch in your idea for a thought leader. That's, you know, I mean, obviously you can't do that all the time. You know, if you've had one article in Property Week or Estates Gazette, they're not going to publish something by you every week. But, you know, plan your, you know, target particular publications, have a list and target them for different thought leader. And that can be really powerful. And some of the pieces I've done for people, and they've sort of said afterwards, you know, they've had comments from people saying, oh, I saw your piece in, you know, whatever publication, you know, it was really interesting, that kind of stuff. So it can spark a conversation. And, you know, don't forget your own website. But, you know, I think this comes back to the point that we're sort of trying to hammer home, is that, you know, if you've written a thought leader, promote it. Don't just put one post on LinkedIn and it's gone. You know, if you do regular insight pieces or thought leader pieces on your website, promote each one several times on different channels. You know,
and internally and externally as well. Come to think of it, it's like, just keep it going, and newsletters, everything. Don't get because if you're bored of it, doesn't mean everyone else is, because it doesn't mean they've seen it.
Anyway, we don't have any more questions, and we have gone slightly over time. So I think we should just round off now and say thank you for watching. Thank you for all your comments. Sorry about any glitches if you're watching on LinkedIn. Thank you, LinkedIn, for being glitchy. And feel free, if you're not already connected with either of us on LinkedIn, do connect. Do, you know, just say you watched us live, hit connect. I'm, you know, happy to connect with people there.
Always. And we are going to be back with a B2B comms breakdown on Friday, the 21st of June, which will be our first anniversary, our first birthday. So make a note in your diaries, wear party hats. I never do this. I say this, never do it. But you know it, that's me. And we'll see you there. We don't have a topic yet, but we'll think of something. If you've got any suggestions, email us and let us know as well. Cheers. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.